can't demonstrate this. So when you start this off, again, just kind of taking a look at the cylindrical nature of this part. So depending, I'm just going to kind of draw a rectangle to, again, help you get that elliptical piece. You can still draw it inside of that, but it's trying to help you just plot this in here with this diagonal section, and if it goes in that direction, it starts to put a point on all four sides of this. And the part that's a third is from the center to the corner, and if you look at there and just divide it into thirds, take the first one closest to the corner, and so it elongates as it comes out. It gets narrow as it goes away, and once you have that, it's going to help you plot this around, at least just to give you some points, sectioning that off. And then once you have it, you can curve that section out. Okay, so once you get there, you can still go outside, inside. I'm going to use that maybe as part of the frosting and just make it a little bit bigger so I have some more room to do this drawing. And then one just a little bit smaller on the inside, and one on the inside. So it's kind of giving those three layers pretty quickly there. Sides of this are parallel. I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit. And again, it's the same thing. So if you can transpose that piece, you can kind of see it right up on the side there. And then as you divide it, you have 3 layers of this. So rather than try to do all of them, just divide this into thirds on one side. And so there you have the 3 layers. And all you have to do is start at the top and kind of follow the offset nature of this. It's not real solid, but you can kind of modify this. And that's going to be your frosting. So it's relatively simple once you get that set up there. The only detail they have is the 6-sided for the parts. So you can see this is divided into 8ths. All you need to do is minimize it with a couple more, and you have the part that has this flat section. So this is a little bit more of a detail. So I'll kind of lay this down here. It's the carrot and frosting. So if you can imagine this just as the top piece that you're trying to illustrate, and it's kind of the flutiness of the frosting, and that'll make it much easier to try to illustrate. So I've allocated off 6 areas for this part. And again, I'm just kind of using the top part. Do that one more time on this side, where I'm just looking at the triangular shape here that this is going to be, and just kind of go back and forth, and on one side just kind of alternate where that line's going to be. And then same idea, here's the outside edge of this piece, and just alternate where the frosting's going to be. Then it's just a matter of giving it a thickness to it, and you kind of have that piece already laid out. So again, here's a triangle shape. Let it alternate left to right, and just give it a thickness to it. Here it is with the alternation, giving it a thickness to that. So it's kind of a little detail. As it gets further away from you, same idea, you're kind of looking at it, it's kind of modeled there, and just alternate those things to make the thickness of that tubing coming back and forth. The one on the other side's kind of hidden, but it gives you that section, and the 6th one too. See if you can see it on this one here. So you see how it goes back and forth. So just do the outside edge, kind of free form, and just bring it into play there. And that gives you that section to it. Then you can kind of exaggerate these lines. You can see where this line becomes a thickness of the frosting. So even though it's symmetrical, it has this plastic liner that helps keep the shape on part of it. once you have the elliptical shape here, you can see where it's a little serrated or segmented here. So you can exaggerate that part. Getting onto this part. Now whether you put the plate that it's resting on is partially there, but you can see this edge of this frosting is very crisp shadow to it. This is where you could probably modify it a bit. So if you just shade this as a cylinder, with the base tone, just don't worry about the coloring of the frosting, just try to get a cylindrical piece shaded there. Find the baseline that it has. Find a little bit of the reflected light here. It's kind of in shadow, kind of backlit. And then go back in and darken up this part. And this can be a rough texture. I'm just going to cross-hatch that across. And again, when you look at these are kind of illustrations from like a representational realistic drawing that you can then change and add to this part. Where this part is the lighter frosting, you can darken that. Find that shadow. And see how it builds itself up. When it gets behind here, I'm just going to put a little bit of tone on the edge because I might put other objects back there. But here's this section to it. And it builds that piece up. And now I'm just using a little bit of a more of a dark light. So when you now concentrate on the edges of these objects, you can see the dark values, so set this a little bit further up there. So this has some texture to it. You can see how the line gets thinner, thicker, depending on how it's been applied. Gets a reflection of the plastic, so you can put that in before or after with a little bit of a eraser, and I'll show you some other artists too. And it's kind of moving it around, keeping some of the values in there. Some dark, some light in there to accentuate the texture. And if the drawing looks crummy, that's good. And here I'm just going to darken this, just go right over the whole drawing here. And once you get this value, you can see how dark or light the top part should be. Mm-hmm.
What's the mascot of Fairview? Warriors. They used to, but it's racist, so they stopped having a mascot. But it's technically still
So there's the piece, and now you just have to go back and check the subtle values of this part. trying to get a little bit of reflected light in there.
They used a red version of the red.
And the top pieces, you can kind of see they're very stylized with that shape of that frosting. So it builds it up there. And you can, go back with your eraser to bring out some of the highlight. Make it look really good. So the values on the top of the cake are a little closer together. You can kind of see it. So it's very, still has this shape to it. So when you take a look at it, see if you can get a 3D looking cake. I'm going to put a little shadow in there.